Did you give that to yourself?
Do what? The general?
General?
It was like we started talking about it, and then it carried over from coaches and different guys on the team, and then it just kind of blew up.
I mean, it's not a bad one to.
At all. It's just a responsibility I have, so it clicked.
Do you feel like that you this far into your career now? Do you feel like that you have that responsibility within your position group and within this team?
Absolutely. I take a lot of responsibility for things that go on the defense. I don't really like to blame the D-line, blame the linebackers. If anything, I'll put it all on myself because that's just the standard I hold myself to.
How has the way that you watch a football game while you're playing evolved over the years?
Like watching,
just like the way that you see the field when you're out there.
Things haven't really slowed, in my opinion. Just, over time, things slow down. So when I'm seeing it, it's like, there it is, and I'm able to go. And that's why I play so fast, because I know what's coming, and once I see it, I go. There's no hesitation.
He was saying that you're a pretty active participant when you guys are in the film room, not just like taking it from the coaches, but then offering like what you've seen as well. Like, when did you start to kind of feel comfortable doing that kind of aspect of things?
Last year.
Yeah.
Last year is when I just really felt like I took that step of being the vocal leader as well as having my performances on the field as well. So just guys who come before me who are like that, from Ugo, Javon, just that's the thing, how things were before. So just enforcing all that and taking it a step further.
You ever consume football just as a fan, or are you always watching it and trying to learn?
A little bit of both. I mean, it's interesting, but of course on Sundays, I'm always active. I love watching just football, and I mean, I see it from a different perspective, so I'm automatically always learning. But I mean, I enjoy it so much. Just like last night, Lamar Jackson. I mean, how can you not enjoy that? I'm a defensive guy, but it was special. So definitely see it from a fan perspective as well.
How has having the podcast kind of helped you just refine your style of leadership? Because, you go on something like that, now you can work on vocalizing what you're seeing on tape. I'd imagine that translates a little bit when you actually go into the film room and you're able to maybe talk and verbalize through these things with your teammates maybe a little better because of that.
It's a couple of things. I would say, of course, watching football and hearing how broadcasters see things, from the Troy Aikmans, Tony Romo's, guys who've played, my dad being a coach as well, and then just the interest I have in it. So it's easy for me to regurgitate information, and I watch so much film. I watch NFL film as well. I'll watch whatever the one-on-one matchups from week 5 or whatever it is, probably today, and just seeing different things, because you can always learn, you can always get better, and I understand concepts, coverages, and leverages, and different techniques, so I'm able to put that throughout the team, because you play different receivers, different teams do different things, so you got to switch it up. You can't always do the same thing from a technical standpoint or, of course, a schematic standpoint. So that's how it all ties in. And just with the podcast, I'm able to do it in the perspective of something I want to do in the future. So having that all tied together just makes it even better for me on the field.
Have you seen Mike Hale and DJ respond in particular from, obviously you were there before, your own self, but just those guys responded to some tough moments at the end of snapping?
They've done a great job of it. I think that, we've moved on, and we had that bye week, and now it's just you ball it up and you throw it away. We know what happened, and we don't want to let it happen again. So taking that and using it as fuel, the bright fuel, you don't want to use it as a negative, but in a positive way, and carrying it over. So I'm excited to see how they perform against Cal.
We hear about the difference that Damon David brings by being back on the field, and it's obvious, especially when you look at the depth chart and stuff, and what that allows for you guys. But for fans who just haven't seen him yet, because he's a true freshman, hasn't played, what is he going to bring to the field, and what does he offer you guys by being there?
He plays fast and he plays physical. That's the best I can put it. There's no other way to say it. He plays fast and he plays physical. So he gets out there, he's definitely going to make something shake.
What's the difference between just playing off a loss straight into the next week and going into a bye week off that?
You get to correct some things. People get their bodies back. We've had a lot of guys dinged up, and we've had some injuries, of course. So going back, kind of reevaluating what we've done over the course of the past, 5 weeks, and then seeing how we can correct it in that bye week, and then coming into the next week, your body's healthy. We had a little bit of time to get it back and everything, so you're just back to that 1-0 process, and it really means something because it's like the second part of the season is here. So it's like you got to reset, regroup. We got to get back to the basics, back to what we've done well, correct what we've done wrong, and I think that'll help us game by game and taking one game at a time. Can't look further. You can't care about rankings. You can't care about the playoffs, all the other stuff. You got to focus on the task at hand.
I know you never want to lose a game, but in a sense, did this bye week almost come at an optimal time, knowing how many guys needed to get their bodies back in a little bit right and just kind of being right smack in the middle of the halfway point of the year?
I would say so. Of course, I think it was helpful, and you got time to evaluate yourself and what you feel like you can do better, and just getting your body back is huge, especially in as long of a season as we want to play. You definitely want to try to stay as fresh as possible, so it definitely does help after a loss a little bit.
What was your self-evaluation?
For me, I was a little hard on myself after the Stanford game. I felt like I didn't make enough plays, and that's just, like I said, me being the general, I take a lot of responsibility. So we didn't get off the field on some third downs. I had a missed tackle or two. Some plays I could have made on the ball better or kept my leverage. So things like that. I mean, but for the most part, I want to be consistent. It's all about consistency in this football. You know, that's how people get fired. You get inconsistent, and all of a sudden you get cut. So taking that demeanor and carrying it over for the next however many games we play, and just always resetting back to zero. That's my motto, reset back to zero after every play, because good or bad, it can't help the next play. So.
If you're the general in the room, you got a lieutenant or a second in command behind you?
No, I guess I do have. Coach Yates is over me, so that's it. But other than that, no, I wouldn't say it. But we all work together. I wouldn't just take all the credit for it. We do a good job together of everybody understanding what's going on, and everybody knows their role and their job. So I think that helps me as well.
What's the most impressive thing you've seen Justin Herbert do with the football?
So my freshman year, because I knew who Herb was, but I didn't know how good he was until I was really practicing against him. And I don't remember what they ran, and he checked to the boundary, came back all the way to the field, other hash, 15-yard, 17 back to 15, I believe, some come back on the line, perfect ball, right to the upfield shoulder. It was beautiful, and right then and there I said, he's special. So seeing what he's doing now is not a surprise at all, and just having Keenan Allen, having Mike Williams, and just being comfortable and being Herb, I think he's done a great job. So
you guys were talking on your podcast a week ago, saying that he might be top 2.
So we were going to get mad about that. Honestly, I'm going to just say check into the next episode, because we are going to discuss quarterback play right now.
When you guys are on the podcast, I know a big thing that you and Trevor kind of try to do and talk about is change the discourse of how people talk about football and talk about players. And Justin's one of those guys where there were all of these discussions about leadership and whether or not he had that capability going into the NFL, and some guys that played with him were like, you don't know what you're talking about because you're not in the room. When you look at the success he has now, how much do you think a subject like that goes towards changing the discussion about how we as media talk about players, talk about guys, when it comes to that intangible factor that you guys see that maybe we don't when we're not seeing practice?
Just in football, sometimes it's not always the player. Certain things are set up in football to where they're going to be successful just because of the system. So looking at it, analytics is good and everything, they're good, but you can't always look at analytics to be the defining factor of if somebody's playing bad or good. I mean, you can say, I'm not going to get into all that. All I'm going to say is just it's sometimes about the film, where you just watch the game and it's who is making plays. We always talk about analytics, stats, of course, but who is making plays? And sometimes those plays happen without it being visible just from watching it on TV. But someone like Herb, just sometimes it's the poise of him. Just he's being poised in the pocket, making good decisions, and that's why recently he's been doing so well, because he's making good decisions. He's Herb. He's just Herb. So
who's that guy on this year's defense that the stats don't show it?
Brandon Dorless. Brandon Dorless is a monster up front, and like I said, you don't always just see it because he didn't make the sack or he didn't have the TFL, but he may have made the ball bounce or the quarterback scramble. The Ohio State interception, perfect example. Nobody said anything. That's why I gave him credit, because he was the one who kind of forced that pressure. Him and Braden Swinson. It was them two that were really up front. Brandon Buckner. So not every time, you see those things. And a perfect example is Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald may not get to play all the time, but Aaron Donald had 3 people on him. So now he has all these one-on-ones for guys. If I was an edge rusher, I would love to play with Aaron Donald, because you're going to get a one-on-one. So many times you have to win your one-on-one, you're right to the quarterback. So that's literally the perfect example for it.
With that said, it's obvious that you said. How different do you think things are going to be for you guys as a defense, where front seven-wise, particularly in the second half once KT gets back, you're going to be about as fully healthy outside of the weak side backer spot as you've been since the start of the season?
I guess we gotta wait till the second half. No, I think that we'll be fine in the first half, because we have so many edge rushers that are really good, from Brandon Buckner, Swinson's back. You have Dorless, you have Keon, who's been playing really well. It's another person that hasn't been really talked about a lot. Keon's been doing a phenomenal job. You have Trevin Mike. We have so many guys. So of course KT's a big factor, but at the same time, it's we're going to start from the very beginning, from the first snap, getting pressure and doing what we do.